The sky above the small town of Eldridge was a deep, unnatural shade of violet. The air crackled with energy, and the ground trembled faintly, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. In the center of the town square, a massive metallic sphere hovered silently, its surface reflecting the eerie light of the alien sky. The townsfolk had gathered at a safe distance, their faces a mix of fear and curiosity. No one dared to approach the sphere, but everyone knew that something monumental was about to happen. Among the crowd was a young woman named Lila Harper. She was in her mid-20s, with sharp green eyes and a determined expression that set her apart from the others. Lila wasn't from Eldridge, she had arrived just a week ago, seeking refuge after the alien invasion had begun. The world had changed overnight, and humanity was no longer the dominant species. The aliens, known as the Kryll, had descended upon Earth with ruthless efficiency, their advanced technology and superior strength leaving humanity on the brink of extinction. Lila had seen the Kryll up close before. She had watched as they decimated entire cities, their sleek, silver-armored forms moving with terrifying precision. But this sphere was different. It didn't look like a weapon or a ship. It was something else entirely. As the crowd murmured nervously, the sphere began to emit a low hum. The sound grew louder, resonating through the air like a deep, primal chord. Then, without warning, the sphere split open, revealing a blinding light. The crowd gasped and shielded their eyes as a figure emerged from the light. It was an alien, but unlike any Lila had ever seen. The Kryll were tall and angular, with sharp features and cold, calculating eyes. This alien was shorter, with a more humanoid shape. Its skin was a soft, iridescent blue, and its eyes were large and expressive, filled with a strange mixture of curiosity and fear. It wore a flowing, silver robe that shimmered in the light, and its hands were delicate, almost fragile-looking. The alien stepped forward, its movements graceful and deliberate. It raised a hand, and the crowd fell silent. Then, in a voice that was both melodic and haunting, it spoke. "I am Zara," it said. "I come in peace." The words were spoken in perfect English, which only added to the surreal nature of the moment. The crowd exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of how to respond. Lila, however, felt a spark of hope. This alien was different. It wasn't here to destroy. It was here to communicate. Before anyone could react, the ground shook violently, and a deafening roar filled the air. Lila turned to see 3 Kryll warriors descending from the sky, their armor gleaming in the violet light. They landed with a thunderous crash, their weapons drawn and their eyes locked on Zara. "Traitor," one of the Kryll snarled, its voice harsh and guttural. "You will pay for your betrayal." Zara's eyes widened in fear, and she took a step back. The Kryll advanced, their weapons humming with deadly energy. The crowd scattered, screaming in terror. Lila, however, stood her ground. She didn't know why, but she felt compelled to protect Zara. As the Kryll closed in, Lila reached for the only weapon she had, a simple, unassuming knife she had carried with her since the invasion began. It was nothing compared to the Kryll's advanced technology, but it was all she had. The first Kryll lunged at Zara, its weapon crackling with energy. Lila moved without thinking, stepping between them and slashing at the Kryll's arm. The blade connected, and to her surprise, the Kryll recoiled, its armor sparking and smoking. The other 2 Kryll hesitated, clearly caught off guard by Lila's audacity. "Run!" Lila shouted at Zara, who nodded and began to retreat. The Kryll recovered quickly, however, and one of them swung its weapon at Lila. She ducked just in time, feeling the heat of the energy blade singe her hair. She rolled to the side and came up swinging, her knife finding its mark once again. The fight was brutal and chaotic. Lila was outmatched in every way, but she fought with a ferocity that surprised even herself. She dodged and weaved, using her agility to stay one step ahead of the Kryll. Her knife was her only advantage, and she used it to its fullest, targeting the weak points in the Kryll's armor. By the time the last Kryll fell, Lila was battered and bruised, but she was alive. Zara was safe, and the town of Eldridge had been spared, for now. As the adrenaline faded, Lila turned to Zara, who was watching her with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "Thank you," Zara said softly. "You saved my life." Lila nodded, still catching her breath. "Who are you?" she asked. "And why are the Kryll after you?" Zara hesitated, then said, "I am a scientist. I was sent to study your world, but I could not condone the Kryll's actions. I tried to stop them, but they saw me as a traitor. They will not stop until I am dead." Lila's mind raced. If Zara was a scientist, she might hold the key to defeating the Kryll. But first, they needed to get out of Eldridge. The Kryll would send more warriors, and next time, they might not be so lucky. "Come on," Lila said, grabbing Zara's hand. "We need to move." As they disappeared into the shadows, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed forever. She had faced the Kryll and survived, but the real battle was just beginning. Lila and Zara moved quickly through the dense forest that surrounded Eldridge. The trees provided cover, but Lila knew it wouldn't be enough to hide them from the Kryll for long. The aliens had advanced tracking technology, and it was only a matter of time before they were found. Zara followed closely behind, her movements surprisingly agile for someone who looked so delicate. She seemed to glide over the uneven terrain, her silver robe shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Lila couldn't help but notice how out of place Zara looked in the rugged wilderness, but she pushed the thought aside. They had more pressing concerns. "Where are we going?" Zara asked after they had been walking for several hours. "There's a safe house about a day's journey from here," Lila replied. "It's an old bunker that was built during the Cold War. The Kryll haven't found it yet, and it's stocked with supplies. We'll be safe there, for a while, at least." Zara nodded, but her expression was troubled. "The Kryll will not stop searching for me," she said. "They will tear this world apart if they have to." Lila glanced at her. "Why are you so important to them?" Zara hesitated, then said, "I possess knowledge that could change the course of this war. The Kryll are not invincible. They have weaknesses, and I know how to exploit them. But if they capture me, they will erase that knowledge, and any hope your people have of defeating them." Lila's heart raced. If Zara was telling the truth, she might be the key to saving humanity. But first, they had to survive. As they continued their journey, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The forest was eerily quiet, the usual sounds of birds and insects conspicuously absent. It was as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. They reached the safe house just as the sun was beginning to set. The bunker was hidden beneath a thick layer of vegetation, its entrance barely visible. Lila quickly cleared away the debris and opened the heavy metal door, ushering Zara inside. The interior of the bunker was dimly lit, but it was clean and well organized. Shelves lined the walls, stocked with food, water, and medical supplies. There was a small generator in the corner, providing just enough power to keep the lights on. "This is where we'll stay for now," Lila said, closing the door behind them. "We'll rest tonight and figure out our next move in the morning." Zara nodded, but she seemed distracted. She wandered over to a table in the center of the room, where a map of the region was spread out. She studied it intently, her fingers tracing the lines and symbols. "What is it?" Lila asked, joining her. "There is a place," Zara said slowly. "A facility where the Kryll are conducting experiments. If we can reach it, we might be able to gather the evidence we need to expose their weaknesses." Lila frowned. Where is this facility? Zara pointed to a spot on the map. Here. It's deep in the mountains, about 3 days' journey from here. But it will be heavily guarded. Getting in will not be easy. Lila studied the map, her mind racing. The facility was in a remote area, which meant they would have to travel through some of the most dangerous terrain in the region. But if Zara was right, it might be worth the risk. We'll leave at first light, Lila said finally. But we'll need to be careful. The KRYLL will be watching for us. Zara nodded, her expression grim. I understand. As they prepared for the journey ahead, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. But she also knew that they had no other choice. The fate of humanity depended on them, and they couldn't afford to fail. The journey to the KRYLL facility was grueling. The terrain was rugged and unforgiving, and the weather was unpredictable. One moment, the sun would be shining brightly, and the next, a storm would roll in, drenching them in cold, driving rain. But despite the challenges, Lila and Zara pressed on, driven by the knowledge that they were running out of time. As they neared the facility, the landscape changed dramatically. The dense forest gave way to rocky, barren hills, and the air grew thin and cold. The facility itself was a massive, imposing structure, built into the side of a mountain. Its walls were made of a strange, metallic material that seemed to absorb the light, giving it an almost sinister appearance. Lila and Zara approached cautiously, keeping to the shadows as they surveyed the area. The facility was heavily guarded, with KRYLL warriors patrolling the perimeter and drones scanning the skies. Getting inside would be nearly impossible, but not if they were clever. There's a ventilation shaft on the north side, Zara said, pointing to a small, barely visible opening in the wall. It leads directly into the facility. If we can reach it, we can bypass the guards. Lila nodded. Let's move. They made their way to the ventilation shaft, moving slowly and carefully to avoid detection. The shaft was narrow and cramped, but they managed to squeeze inside. The air was stale and filled with the faint hum of machinery, but they pressed on, crawling through the darkness. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged into a dimly lit corridor. The walls were lined with strange, glowing symbols, and the air was thick with the scent of ozone. Lila's heart raced as she realized they were inside the facility. This way, Zara whispered, leading the way down the corridor. They moved quickly but quietly, their footsteps echoing softly in the empty halls. The facility was eerily quiet, as if it had been abandoned, but Lila knew better. The KRYLL were here, and they were watching. They reached a large, circular room filled with strange, alien machinery. In the center of the room was a massive, glowing orb, pulsating with energy. Zara's eyes widened as she approached it. This is it, she said, her voice filled with awe. This is the source of their power. If we can destroy it, we can cripple their entire operation. Lila nodded, but before she could respond, the room was suddenly flooded with light. The KRYLL had found them. Intruders, one of the KRYLL warriors shouted, raising its weapon. Seize them. Lila and Zara reacted instantly, diving for cover as the KRYLL opened fire. The room was filled with the sound of energy blasts and the hum of machinery as the battle raged on. Lila fought with everything she had, her knife flashing in the dim light as she took down one KRYLL after another. But there were too many of them. Lila and Zara were outnumbered and outgunned, and it was only a matter of time before they were overwhelmed. Just as it seemed like all hope was lost, Zara made a desperate move. She lunged for the glowing orb, her hands glowing with a strange, blue light. The orb reacted instantly, its energy surging and crackling as Zara channeled it. Lila, get down! Zara shouted. Lila didn't hesitate. She dropped to the ground just as the orb exploded, sending a shockwave of energy through the room. The KRYLL were thrown back, their weapons falling silent as the energy overwhelmed them. When the dust settled, Lila looked up to see Zara standing amidst the wreckage, her body glowing with the same blue light as the orb. She looked different, stronger, more powerful. "What did you do?" Lila asked, her voice filled with awe. Zara smiled faintly. "I absorbed the energy of the orb. It has given me the power to fight back. But we must hurry. The Kryll will not be defeated so easily." Lila nodded, her heart racing. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The explosion at the facility had not gone unnoticed. News of the attack spread quickly, and soon, Lila and Zara found themselves at the center of a growing resistance movement. People from all over the region began to rally to their cause, inspired by their bravery and determination. But with the resistance came new challenges. The Kryll were more determined than ever to crush any sign of rebellion, and they launched a series of brutal attacks on the resistance's strongholds. Lila and Zara were constantly on the move, trying to stay one step ahead of their enemies. Despite the danger, Lila felt a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time since the invasion began, she believed that they might actually have a chance to win. But she also knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. One night, as they were preparing for a mission, Zara approached Lila with a troubled expression. "There's something I need to tell you," Zara said quietly. "Something about the Kryll, and about me." Lila frowned. "What is it?" Zara hesitated, then said, "The Kryll are not what they seem. They are not a single species, but a collective of different races, united under a single leader. I was once a part of that collective, but I could not condone their actions. That is why I rebelled." Lila's eyes widened in shock. "You were one of them?" Zara nodded. "But I am not like them. I believe in freedom and peace, not conquest and destruction. That is why I joined the resistance, to fight for what I believe in." Lila was silent for a moment, processing this revelation. Then she said, "It doesn't matter where you came from. What matters is what you do now. You've proven yourself to be a true ally, and that's all that matters to me." Zara smiled faintly. "Thank you, Lila. That means more to me than you know." As they prepared to embark on their next mission, Lila couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They were fighting for something greater than themselves, and no matter what happened, they would do it together. The final battle took place in the heart of the Kryll's stronghold. The resistance had gathered all of its forces for one last, desperate push to defeat the Kryll and reclaim their world. Lila and Zara led the charge, their determination unwavering as they faced their enemies head-on. The battle was fierce and brutal. The Kryll fought with everything they had, their advanced technology and superior numbers giving them the upper hand. But the resistance fought with a ferocity that surprised even themselves. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their future, and they would not back down. As the battle raged on, Lila and Zara found themselves face to face with the Kryll's leader. He was a towering figure, his armor gleaming with an otherworldly light. His eyes burned with a cold, calculating intelligence as he regarded them. "You have caused us much trouble," the leader said, his voice filled with disdain. "But your rebellion ends here." Lila stepped forward, her knife in hand. "We're not afraid of you," she said, her voice steady. "We'll never stop fighting." The leader laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Then you will die with the rest of your kind." The battle that followed was the most intense of Lila's life. The leader was a formidable opponent, his strength and speed far beyond anything she had ever faced. But she fought with everything she had, her determination unwavering. Zara joined the fight, her newfound powers giving her an edge. She channeled the energy of the orb, her attacks powerful and precise. Together, they managed to weaken the leader, but it wasn't enough. Just as it seemed like they were about to be defeated, Lila made a desperate move. She lunged at the leader, her knife finding its mark. The leader staggered, his armor cracking and sparking as he fell to the ground. With a final, desperate effort, Zara unleashed a powerful blast of energy, finishing the leader off. The KRYLL's forces faltered, their resolve crumbling as their leader fell. The resistance cheered as the KRYLL retreated, their forces in disarray. Lila and Zara stood amidst the wreckage, their bodies battered and bruised but their spirits unbroken. They had won. As the sun rose over the battlefield, Lila and Zara looked out at the world they had fought so hard to save. It was a new beginning, and they knew that the road ahead would be difficult. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, they could face anything. The war was over, but their journey was just beginning.